Hey everybody, welcome to Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm David.
And I'm Donna.
This is the weekly episodic podcast where we talk about all things creative and pop culture and just our thoughts and opinions on that kind of stuff. We call it Creative Conversations because it goes all over the place.
It does.
We want to talk about specific things. Like last week we talked a lot about the Academy Award nominations, and that has to do with creativity. Of course, it's filmmaking, but we never really know where this conversation is going to go.
No, we don't.
We have like topics, but then it just kind of flows.
Well, actually, just a little insight into our brain. Before we started, we're like, well, let's see if we can find a quote. And we're both kind of looking through our phones and some books I have, and it's like, let's just talk.
Yeah, let's just talk.
We do also, of course, if you listen to us, we would love to talk to you if you would like to tell us all about your creativity and, tell other people about it. So we're here for that as well.
That's what we're
here to help people be creative.
That's what we are. Stay creative. We want everyone to stay creative. And we think a good way to do that is by having a creative conversation where you just talk about all things creativity and culture.
Yes.
So last week, like I said, we talked a lot about the Academy Award nominations, and one of the nominations was Marriage Story for Best Picture, and Adam Driver for Best Actor, and Scarlett Johansson for Best Actress, which is incredible because it's a Netflix original that's getting nominated for all this stuff. That's great. I thought
there's a Best Supporting Actress from that movie as well.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And The Irishman, another Netflix original, got big stuff. That's great because, this year with Disney Plus coming out, which I love Disney Plus very, very much, but I was like, Netflix is in trouble, man. I mean, what are they going to do? They're losing all of their Disney, all of their Fox stuff. Everyone's going to be getting Disney Plus. If they have to choose, they're going to choose Disney Plus, but Netflix they're pulling out the stops. You got Stranger Things is up there too, man. That's always amazing. Too bad they can't make any more Marvel shows, but those are great. I'm not getting rid of Netflix anytime soon when I thought maybe I would be. So good for Netflix.
Well, I heard I read something. Somebody said, now we're paying for Netflix and they want us to pay for Disney. And what is this CBS All Access?
There's CBS All Access.
So, of course, I looked into that today because of Picard, but I think I can just wait a day and then see it on Amazon Prime. And I already have that.
There's Amazon Prime, and then there's Hulu, and then there's HBO Go.
So somebody said, y'all need to get your act together because I can't pay for all these.
Yeah.
I'm paying for Amazon Prime for many other reasons, but I'm also paying for Netflix and I still have cable, so it's just like, okay.
A lot of people don't have cable.
I know, that's been a coming thing for a little while, cut the cord,
The only reason we have cable is for sports still. That's why my family has it, because we watch it. Hulu gets stuff the next day. I watch all my stuff. I'm obsessed notoriously with Grey's Anatomy. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I get the next episode the day after it comes out on Hulu, baby, so I ain't worried about recording it. I can keep up to date, but that's an interesting thing itself, because there's too much.
Yeah.
There is.
Well,
there's too much stuff, man.
It's changing, and if you want to keep a population who's interested in everything that there is to offer, they're going to have to do some kind of package deal, get these 4 streaming services for this amount.
Well, that's what happened with cable. Well, you had 3 TV channels, and then as you got a million TV channels, cable companies came together and started selling it as packages. That's what cable became. Was, hey, buy a package of all these companies, and I'm sure that's a market right there. There needs to be a company that makes a deal with all these different stuff and sells a big package. Hey, take all of it for $30 a month instead of paying $50 for all the individual ones, and that it'll just become cable again. It's just a cycle, basically.
That's so interesting. I hadn't even thought about it like that. But so now the channels are actually not. Well, they are. There's just different channels.
Yeah, it's just different channels. But
and
it's all streaming.
They're trying to go off on their own, but they're really just another channel.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to think about because so many people are so far behind. CBS All Act, really? They have Star Trek, but how many people are going to pay for just the Star Trek show? I get it, but like you said yourself, it's going to come out the next day on Amazon Prime. So and I think you can get there's the current Star Trek show that's going on that is a CBS All Access exclusive, but nobody cares, and nobody's paying that much just for that.
To be honest, I saw something about that just earlier today when I was looking up CBS All Access because I saw the big thing about Picard, which, by the way, comes out Thursday. But anyway, so I saw something about the Star Trek thing. I'm like, what is that? And I looked at it, and I didn't even know what it was. So I had never even heard of it.
Because it's a CBS exclusive. It's so obscure to get, and people took so long to catch up to it. Like, Netflix had this crap figured out from the start that they knew streaming services were going to be the big deal. And now everybody else is trying to play catch up, and it just ain't going to work, sweetie. I mean, Disney can do it because they're Disney.
Yeah,
but
they also have such a huge catalog, and they're adding to it daily.
Yeah, exactly. So they have so much stuff, but like, what is CBS going to put on there other than Star Trek? Which, it's only a matter of time before somebody else buys Star Trek, So it's all playing catch up, and there's a big worry that like this is becoming like its own market, and Netflix really had a monopoly, but now it's now Disney's going to have the same sort of pull as Netflix, right. And they're just them battling for the subscriptions, and I am positive Disney's going to raise their price for $5. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, Netflix has always been raising their prices, and I'm always confused of how Netflix makes money. Because I know you pay a subscription service, but they're paying for these movies to be produced. Like, geez, where does all that? I've heard that they lose money actually because their business, and this is sort of almost how I feel ours is. I think about this because their business model is content. Let's just get all this content. We need all these shows for you to watch. So you will subscribe to our subscription. You just have all these shows, all these things. Look at all of our original content, because eventually everyone's going to pull out and leave their stuff and make their own services. So they're not going to need Netflix anymore. And so they're going to have all this content. That's sort of how I think about us sometimes. Is like, we just need to get these content and let it be there. But it's just interesting to think about.
So when you think about it in relation to
fast.
us, no, but in relation to us with the content, what beyond that, what do you see? I mean, it's like people pay us to get our content? What do you mean?
I see it as like, the idea is that later, okay, so let's say you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel or check out our Auto Selfie right now, right?
Correct.
But then a month from now you will be.
Right.
Well, you will find one thing that makes you subscribe to it, and then the idea is for you to find that one thing that made you subscribe, but then you can go back and check out all these podcasts that we had made. And that's why you stay subscribed, and that's why you go back and watch all of it, and put views on all that stuff. And Netflix's model is like, in order to keep growing, is they keep making new things, because every new show they make, there's at least there's a group of people who see that new show's coming out, and want to see that show, so they'll subscribe to Netflix for it. But once they subscribe and finish the show, they're not going to cancel their subscription because there's all these other shows that now they have access to. Now they can go check out all this other stuff. It's just they build up this huge library of content so that people stay and will keep giving them money.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to learn how, and they've talked about it a decent amount. Netflix, how to make sure people are not using each other's logins. So, how much money have they lost for that? And now if they're losing people to Disney and losing money for that, that's a big deal.
Their idea is like, and Disney doesn't do this, interestingly enough. I'm sure they got to implement it soon, but Netflix, I think the idea is you pay for like 3 screens at a time is the idea. So like I know at my house we have to pay like 4 screens at a time because there's 4 of us. So like, if I'm watching on my phone and my sister's on her phone and my stepdad's on his phone and my mom's on her phone, we can all watch at the same time. But then if one more person hops on, they get a notification that's like, too many people are watching it, you can't watch it. So and we pay more to have those 4 screens.
Gotcha.
Right now, so that keeps people from like using it because it's. But then there's still the problem is, I could give it to my friend and
give it to me.
I could give it to you,
right.
And you could say, "Hey, are you watching Netflix right now?" I could be like, "Nah," and then you go like, "Okay," and you could hop on and use it. But that's still a way to sort of level it. Disney Plus does not do that. I have given my subscription of Disney Plus to numerous people who are watching all at the same time with no problems at all because there's nothing to stop it. It's just like everyone's watching Disney.
That might be the ploy, just to kind of get everybody hooked. And
exactly, that's what I think too. That's also why I think it's only $5 right now, because
get everybody in and then put the claws out.
You get the claws and you latch them in, and now you can't give up your Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's why they launched with an original show that you can't get anywhere else, The Mandalorian.
Right.
And it worked. I have Disney Plus. You have Disney Plus. We're watching it. I was watching I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movies yesterday. I have those on DVD. I have the movies on DVD, but I'm such a lazy piece of garbage that I didn't want to stand up and go put the DVD in the DVD player. So instead I got on Disney Plus. And it's... I like thinking about
I mean, you do have it, though. I mean,
exactly.
You didn't buy that because you were lazy. You just... Now you have another option. I don't necessarily find that to be too lazy, but...
I chose the lazy option.
Right.
The more relatively lazy option. And that's where it always goes. People... the way that technology is going is finding more ways for people to be lazy.
Convenient.
Yeah, convenient. And I'm not trying to say that's like a bad term, like, oh, you're being lazy, but it's like... Yeah, how many times have you been watching cable and a movie comes on that you like and you watch it, but you have the movie on DVD over there with no commercials or no anything, but you choose to watch it on cable so that way you don't have to stand up and go put it in the DVD player and then you have to switch over to the birth, blah, blah, blah. And it's just become so much when, 10 years ago, that was like amazing. All you gotta do is put in the DVD player. Right. I mean, I don't have to wait for it to come on cable. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is.
Now even a lot of cable stuff, it's like on demand. Like you can just search, like I want to watch Grey's Anatomy. You can search it and it's like, well, this premiered 2 nights ago and it's not on any channels right now, but here, you can watch it. And I'm like, yay, thanks. Yay. I have no idea how people lived back when there were like channels and you couldn't record and you had to pay attention to the time and stop what you were doing at whatever time to go watch it.
That's how I grew up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love The Walking Dead. I have not seen the last season because I was too lazy to pay attention to the time that it would come on and then to go watch it at that time and stop what I'm doing. I'm serious. I'll wait for it on Netflix, which is like a year. It's like Arrow. Which just ended, by the way. Arrow. I have not seen all of Arrow because I'm like, I'll wait for it to go on Netflix. I could watch it right now. It's on television every Tuesday night. But instead, I'm like, I'll wait a year for it to be on Netflix. That way I can just lay in my bed and watch it on my phone.
Right.
Because I don't want to take a plug and plug it into a different port for me to watch cable.
Well, I mean, it was so interesting, too, because when something was on that you really wanted to watch, I mean, you didn't want that distraction. You didn't want anybody to come talk to you. If the phone rang, you're like, kind of call you back. And it was just, it was a completely different way of thinking about it. And it was so interesting for me to watch the change because I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I taught a class for a while about, I forgot what the name of the class was, but it was just about media and how it was changing. And telling my students, there will be a time where you can watch whatever you want on TV. They're like, oh, we can do that now. I'm like, no, you can't do it now. This is where you would get on TV and tell the TV what to play. And they were like, well, how would that happen? I'm like, I don't know, but it's coming.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I knew it was coming. But it, of course, is here now.
It is here now, where you're just like... Yeah, I mean, they have a voice module now where you can be like, hey, Alexa...
Oh, I'm on my Cox. I forgot what it was called, but I can talk into my...
A voice command?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
I can say Netflix, and it goes to Netflix.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I was thinking more like, hey, Alexa, turn on Netflix and put on Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You could do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, that's freaking dope.
It's crazy.
I love it, but it's... too much all at one time. There's going to be a point, Next step is freaking contact lenses that have Netflix in them, so it's like...
But they have been working on that for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was the Google Glass,
yes.
but it looked stupid, so no one... Which I thought it looked kind of cool. I don't know why. I thought it looked kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sci-fi. That's pretty cool.
Well, you have to have that way of thinking for it to look cool, and I guess enough people didn't. But
yeah, which is why I don't even see them anymore. I
but
don't even
the
know if you can
idea
still
of the
get it.
screen being right in your face, I mean, so the little bitty screen is as big as the movie screen if you're looking across the room at it. That's going to be a thing. I don't know when, but
it's going to be contact lenses where you can like close, and it's connected to your mind, so you can like close your eyes and be like, and think to yourself, let's watch Netflix. Okay, let's go to Walking Dead.
There it is. But could you do that and still function? Like, could you be watching it while you're in class or walking down the hall at school or trying to get your work done? Or
I mean, already in class, I'd sit in those big auditoriums where you can look down on people and class is going on and they're watching TV on their computers. But what I mean by that is,
would your vision be completely consumed?
Oh, you're saying, what I'm talking about. You could minimize it. You could have it completely consumed, or you can be like,
it's over in the corner.
Yeah, or you can think to yourself, put it in the corner, and then you put it in the corner. Pause.
So you're listening to your lecture while you're in the corner of your eye watching a movie.
Yes.
Instead of holding the screen watching a movie.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
And they're connected to the Bluetooth in your headphones, but the headphones are implanted into your ears.
Oh, well, they've talked a long time about implanting. In fact, Star Trek, like I always talk about, there were the binars, where they replaced their pituitary gland. Is that what that's?
I think so, yeah.
Gland, with something that was like a processor. So they spoke in like binary language because they were like a computer. So, I mean, it's a real deal, like implanting the chip and becoming the computer brain,
which is terrifying. I don't want to do that. You know how the cloud is everything now. You know how long it took me to turn my phone on to the cloud. Like I was like, nope. I've seen sci-fi movies. Also, I'm like, no. What happens if like something goes bad and then I end up with, because I've had experiences where me and my sister's phones completely swap. Like, literally, like, all the data on mine and all the one on hers gets flipped over because we're connected to the cloud. It's blah, blah, blah. It took me up until getting this phone that's sitting in front of you right now to use the cloud, because that was the only way. They used to have, like, the transfer over, like, from an old phone to a new phone. They used to have, like, these machines you plug into. Now the only way to do it is to upload everything from here onto the cloud and download it from there. And I cannot stand it. I hate it. All the sharing, everything's sharing and flowing, and, like, I hate it. So I'm not getting a chip implanted in my brain. No. No, thank you. But the thing is, millions of people will. Like sheep. They'll just be like, those flock to the Apple store to get the chip. And then when World War III starts, they'll press a switch and we all become mindless soldiers or some post-up, thing. Because we all sheep and put the chip. I saw a funny joke that was like, y'all are going to feel real stupid when you find out that they put microchips in those Popeye chicken sandwiches y'all ate. So now we can control you.
Yeah,
it's going to flip on.
Anything that becomes popular and is hugely available. Yeah, that's kind of scary.
They already have access. I mean, the truth is they could do anything. I mean, how many times have you been, it's cookies with the ads where it's like you search a vacuum cleaner, now you get ads for 1 million vacuum cleaners, and because they have access to all of that kind of stuff already. And so I don't want that in my brain. Are you kidding me? I don't want my thoughts to be read, man. No, thank you. Like, no.
And so many movies have those types of references as well, and it's just so interesting because that brings. And I see the topic that we had no idea we were going to, but the idea that science fiction movies kind of lead us in the direction of where we're going. So, I mean, it still amazes me when I'm watching Star Trek, which is Next Generation, which is over 30 years old now, and they have what's on their desk essentially a laptop. I mean, and they're carrying around essentially iPads. I mean, they had that so far ahead of what we didn't even have anything that looked remotely like those things in those days. That's when computers were huge. Like you had to have a desktop, you had to have a monitor that was a cube, and here these people are with, this something that looks almost identical to what we use now. It's giving me chill bumps talking about it. But I will segue now. I've been watching Next Generation, as I've said, because getting kind of all of that under my belt as much as possible before Picard starts. So I won't see all of them, but I've been really, watching a bunch. And it's my stress relief because I don't watch a lot of TV. So yesterday, actually this 3-day weekend, because this is the Martin Luther King weekend for us, so I'm off tomorrow, yay. I found myself in a place with all of my schoolwork and preparation for my productions for school where I don't have a lot to do. And I'm like, that sometimes is stressful to me. Like, wow, I don't have anything to do. So I try to find some things to be productive because I like to be productive. And then I need a break, so I'll go watch Star Trek. And so I was sitting in there, and the thing that they always advertise something before you get to your episode, and it was Marriage Story. So I'm going to just totally jump track now and go over to that. So David and I talked.
That's how this conversation started.
It was supposedly. we talked last week about just the Academy Award nominations, and I listened to the podcast from last week earlier today, and I heard David talking about what he had seen about Marriage Story. So I'm going to let you just kind of tell me again what you know about it, what you've seen about it.
Starring Adam Driver, my man, and Scarlett Johansson, and it's just about a couple, one's an actor, one's a director, who are madly in love but are getting a divorce, and they have a young son, and the mother wants to move back to LA with the son, and maybe the dad's a bit of a jerk, but it's like you're taking his son away just because you want to, and it's like, where did the problem go with that? And they were best friends, and now it's like they're getting a divorce, and all the horrible things you go through when dealing with that. I saw was the intense scene of them fighting when he screams that I wish you were dead, and all that kind of stuff like that. And that's what I know about Marriage Story.
Complete right there. Actually, very. Mm-hmm. So you saw that just from a preview? That's what you got from a preview?
That's what I got from watching the first 10 minutes of it.
Oh, you watched 10 minutes of it. Okay.
Yes, but then it was already so freaking intense that I was like, man, I'm going to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy.
I do have to say, it is an intense movie. Yeah. I sat there, scrunched up and talking to my husband, wow, whoa.
Yeah.
They brought up really real deal stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was so appreciative of. My parents are divorced, and I've had to deal with that. And I've gone through bad breakups before, and it's very much the same. It captures that very, very well, the crazy emotions you go through after screaming at each other for 5 minutes and then hugging each other because you just said horrible things to each other that maybe you didn't really mean, but maybe you did mean it.
So you saw that scene? That was not in the first 10 minutes.
No, I saw the whole scene because I saw that on Instagram or something.
Oh, okay.
I know it wasn't in the first 10 minutes, but that's one of the scenes that I saw.
And you saw him all the way through the whole scene to where they got to
the part where he broke down, and she started rubbing his back, which is I've been there. When I just said horrible, horrible things. Turns out it was to a bad person, but still, I said horrible things, and I'm like, what did I just say? Mm-hmm. That's so horrible. Even if you're the person in the wrong here, I still shouldn't have said that. And then I start crying. Even though I'm the one who said the horrible thing, I start crying, and the person who I said the horrible thing to is hugging me. And it's like, why are you...
So you very much lived that scene yourself.
Yes, I've watched that scene play out with my own parents, so yeah, very intense and very...
I didn't really know what to think about it. I mean, it was called A Marriage Story, and it was obvious from just a bit of preview I saw, because I had seen it advertised before I watched it yesterday, that it was going to be, a breakup story, but I didn't know what to expect at all. That's all I knew. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how many people care about spoilers, but I'll say a few things that might be considered spoilers. But one thing I will say is that I didn't really know why, just from the little bit I saw, it would even be considered for an Academy Award Best Picture. I was just like, how does that fit in with, Joker? I mean,
yeah.
Because it's a realistic. I mean, when I say there's no kind of artsy whatever, this is as gritty as it gets realistic. So maybe that's why.
I guess that would be why, because it's dark and wow, look at how real this is.
It's very real. It's very real. So what amazes me about the story is how realistically they actually showed both sides. And I like that because so many movies are one-sided. But it started off with them voiceovering things they love about each other. Yeah. So you're like, where is this going? And so what they're actually doing is they had been asked by their mediator or therapist, whatever you want to call a person, to write a big long list of what they appreciate about each other before they start trying to separate from each other, just to kind of remember that at one point they did care about the other one. And so the opening sequence is first him, I think, reading all of his long letter about all the different things about his wife that he loves and that she does that he appreciates, and then vice versa. And so then from that scene, which has been all this happy flowers and sweet and I love my kid and whatever, to boom, they're sitting in this office. And there's this mediator saying what I just did about I like to start this way so it won't be so hard as we go through. And who wants to read first? So we, as the audience, got to hear both letters. But in the session, neither one of them has heard what the other one has said. And she refuses to read hers. And he's like, well, I'll read mine. And she's like, I'm not going to read. I don't care if you read yours or not. I'm not reading. So it just starts off with, obviously, she's unhappy. I mean, they're going to get divorced or separated or whatever. I don't even know if they thought divorce at the beginning. They just knew they needed to work out their problems. So she goes to LA because she's been in New York acting in his play that has just ended, and takes their kid because she's working on some TV pilot. And so while she's there, she and her husband had the agreement they were not going to get lawyers. They were just going to work through whatever their issues were, separate amicably, work it out themselves. Well, she makes the mistake, I guess, if you want to say it that way, of mentioning that she's going through a divorce with or separating from her husband on the set of where she is working on her pilot, and somebody recommends a lawyer. So she's like, well, we're not going to use lawyers. And the woman was like, you need to go see a lawyer. So it was so interesting to me to watch how they kind of developed that whole thing. Because when Scarlett Johansson's character, God, I watched this last night and I can't remember her name. But anyway, she goes to this lawyer, and the lawyer is a woman. So let me just take a sidebar on that. The woman who plays the lawyer is Laura Dern, who is also Marmee in the Little Women movie that's out now. And I remember making the comment that they have this really young woman playing Marmee, and it just looks so weird. Well, the woman is 2 years younger than me. She's 52, but I will just give her a huge compliment. She looks like she's 30. She's just beautiful. I mean, she's always been beautiful, but she's got this great figure, and she's got this flowing hair, and she's dressed to the nines, and just the way she moves and represents herself and speaks, and just so commanding. Every time they showed that character, I was like, wow. I mean, she just blew that role out of the water, and she deserves the Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for that. But she just was trying to tell Scarlett Johansson's character, this is hard. You love this person, but you got to be separated from them. And they start naming all these different things about, you've moved to California, now your son's in school here, and what that means, because Adam Driver's character is still living in New York. And he is just completely blindsided by the whole thing. It's just so interesting the way they showed it in the movie, because when he gets the call from his wife's lawyer, you haven't responded, and if you don't respond soon, we're just going to take everything from you because you haven't gotten a lawyer. And he's like, but we're not using lawyers. And she's like, you are now.
Yeah, like, you're just screwing them over.
Right, we are now, because if I have one, so you have to get one. So then I'm
just going to take everything from you casually.
Well, that is what would have occurred.
Because the law says we can.
Right,
so
exactly.
Screw you.
So he has to get a lawyer, and his whole thing is, well, we live in New York. And they keep going back to, well, not anymore. She's moved here. She's living in L.A. Son's in school in L.A. You might think that you're an LA-based family, but at this point, the courts are going to see it as, and just that whole thing about the LA thing. And
and it's very biased. There's a... Look, I'm not trying to be like... I'm not... There is a bias in the court system for divorce
for the child to go.
Women.
Yes.
100%. I've witnessed that sort of happen, and it's very real and frustrating. It makes me angry when I think about some things like that. Like, they're just saying, like, well, in a way they're saying, like, well, you're the dad, so, like, go screw yourself. Sorry, that's how it is. Because the mommy said we're doing this, and it's like, so the dad just gets his son taken away, and it's
the movie shows that just in a heart-wrenching way, and it's like big F you, and then the courts are just like, well, it's the woman, but like when you like think about it, it's like, Jesus Christ, like why does she get to do that? Like, and this is like something I've always like I've seen this happen in multiple TV shows, and it makes me so angry because I'm like, what the heck, and yeah, seeing that, and they're just like, yeah, we can take everything from you. Like they're so casual about it too, where it's like, well, you're going to pay this, and this, and this, and it's all because it could be 100% the wife's fault that you're getting a divorce. But it's like, well, screw you. Sorry. Go back to living your life. Bye. Have a good day, and then hang up the phone because it's just yeah. Well, that point was made, but like I said, it's so well balanced that they also showed a scene where Scarlett Johansson is in her lawyer's office and she's being questioned all about her habits, how she treats her son, and what they're actually doing. And you find out after you watch the scene for a while is that they're practicing for when, like, they're not called social workers, but somebody who's like an expert on child behavior. They would have to come and interview both you and your husband to kind of figure out the situation, what's best for the child. And Scarlett Johansson didn't know how to respond, so she responded honestly. She drinks some. She'll split a bottle of wine at a restaurant at a meal. Sometimes she gets irritated at her kid. He could be an asshole, and so she has to like make sure he acts right. And the lawyer was like, "You can't say that." Yeah,
which is also dumb because it's like, So
it's what's real.
It's what's real. People like, no, you can't say that, and that's frustrating. It's real that people say, don't say that. Tell them what they want to hear, because then it all falls apart. It's all BS. So whatever the social worker's deciding is all based on a giant load of BS, and they have to be self-aware of that, but maybe they just don't care enough to really find out. Like, or maybe they do find out, but it's like, what? Okay, so just coincidentally, every single mother you meet turns out to be the perfect human being? Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, sure. It's
So the
sucks.
point that you were making about how the court system leans so heavily to the mother, like I said, Adam Driver's character totally thought that what was happening is that his wife was going to move to LA with the son while she made this TV pilot, and then once everything was done with that, move back, and they would work through their issues, or she would move back to New York is what he thought, because I think they knew they were separating, but she would move back to New York with the son, and then they would just share custody. That was in his brain what was happening the whole time.
Yeah, and he probably had no reason to think otherwise.
Well, in his mind he didn't, but see, that's what this movie again did so well. They absolutely showed that he completely thought that for the reasons he did, and she completely thought something different for the reasons she did. Yeah. And when they had the huge screaming fight that you referred to, oh my God. I mean, they were in his apartment, and this was right after they had gone to court. And both attorneys had just, dragged them both through the mud. I mean, every single possible thing they could have said.
Disgusting.
Just horrible, just awful, just terrible, they both, like Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver's character, were just like looking ugh, because they were upset at what was being said about them, but they were also upset about what was being said about the other one. Just to see how hard it is in court, just hard hitting, trying to get your point, just nasty, awful.
And the lawyers are like, well, if we win, we get paid
more. Right. So after that horrible court scene, the wife goes to the husband's house and apartment. So he opens the door and she's like, hey, and walks in, and they make kind of small talk about their son a little bit, and they're sitting very far across the room from each other, and it's like, I really think we should talk about this, and there is just silence. I mean, a good 20 seconds of silence, and it's like, I don't know how to start this. And so when they did start, because all that pain, for him it was the pain of, I did not know this was what was happening. I didn't know I was going to lose my son. I thought that what was happening is that you moved here and you were going to move back. And then she's like, well, I always said I wanted to come here. And he's like, well, we also said we wanted to get a new credenza, and none of that ever happened. And so from their opposite points of view, she saw him as completely selfish. He saw her as, I'm just doing what's best for the family because I'm trying to make a living, and da-da-da. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where she said something about, you're just like your dad, and he had come from an alcoholic family, and he rushes in, don't you ever say that. And then he's talking about how she's like the worst of all their parents and smothering their kid just like your mother smothered you. It's like, don't you say that, my mother. And it just escalated to that screaming point where he just, when he's screaming at her, saying the whole thing, I wish you were dead, they have the camera in his nose. He is right in the camera screaming it. And you just are watching it going, you can just feel it. And I have not ever been in a situation like that. I've never seen it with my parents. My parents fought, but nothing like that. And I've never personally been in a situation where I felt like that. And watching just that emotion just come out of him, where he literally falls to the floor just crying to where he can hardly breathe. And you just are like, you just don't know what to do with yourself while you're watching it.
So they definitely deserved an Academy Award nomination.
You can say, like you did on the last episode, like every acting class, screaming at each other trope kind of thing. But the build up to that scene, it just absolutely was, it was so real. You just really felt from both of them, and you could tell she was like, they were punch for punch, trying to jab, let me hurt you. But then when he just broke down like that, and she just stopped, and they were just, there was silence again until she went over and rubbed on him, and he's grabbing at her legs, and it was like, oh my God, where do you go from here? It was awful. So if I can, I will say that, of course, time passes in the movie, because they do get shared custody at the end. And so a year later, because they have it kind of centered around Halloween, he comes to visit the kid, and the kid's been having trouble learning to read throughout the movie. So the kid's sitting there reading aloud, And so he goes to see what he's reading, and what he is reading aloud is that letter from the very opening scene. Mm-hmm. So the wife apparently, at that point, well, ex-wife, wanted to let him know how she did care about him. And so the kid's reading through it, and Adam Driver gets the letter and helps him read through it, and reads the end of it because the kid got tired of reading. And just this moment where his chin's quivering because he's just so emotional about hearing how much the wife cared about him. And, you know, she's standing in the background after a while, and just she's got tears in her eyes. And, I mean, they're not going to get back together, but it's just that she let him know. It was kind of like, after all the hurt and pain we've been through, this is what I thought about you and why I did love you and why I still want you to be in our kid's life and whatever. It was a very well done movie. I don't like a whole lot of movies, and that was a really good movie. So
I want to go lay down.
I'm saying it's intense. It really, really is.
Mm-hmm. So I love Adam Driver with all my heart, so I'm very happy he got a nomination for Best Picture. That's really cool to me.
Yeah.
I really hope. I mean, I haven't seen enough. Just that scene alone, it's like maybe. But do you think he has a chance of winning?
I don't know, because going up against, I forgot who all the nominations are, but Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, like you said, he is just such a master at his art. And I don't remember, do you? Oh, wait, Hollywood. Who?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, there's Leonardo. And there's two more, so do we remember who the other two are? I'll look it up. Mm-hmm. I should.
Adam Driver's the best part of the new Star Wars movies.
Well, you know, you say that, and I have to honestly say that I didn't particularly love the Star Wars movies, and I mean, he didn't seem like as much of an actor to me in those as more of like a comic book character alive in those movies. I mean, there was good acting, but I don't think it showed his skill as an actor.
Not fully show skill, but I still think that he brought a lot to the table. And
yeah, he did. Okay, here's the other one. Jonathan Pryce. I don't even remember who that is, for The Two Popes, and then Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory. So that's... Do you know The Two Popes? What is that?
I have no idea. What that is, honestly.
Well, tell me what you liked about Adam Driver in the Star Wars stuff. Because I don't know. I was not particularly drawn.
I think he brought something to Kylo Ren that made Kylo Ren a really interesting character, and I think he did a great job portraying that. I think Kylo had the best arc of any of the characters, and the most consistent by far. And I really like the idea that basically Kylo Ren is like, he's what Anakin Skywalker should have been, is what I say. Like he has a lot of personality, where it's like he's kind of tempered and he's sarcastic sometimes, and he's kind of funny and he's angry all the time, but he's still serious. And like when the droid escapes and he gets in like the Force Awakens, and the people tell him, and he's like, "You let a droid escape." Like, just like the kind of personality he brings. And I view Kylo Ren's character as his arc as a we've seen a lot of Jedi in the light side who struggle with the dark side, but I always saw him as a Sith who struggled with the light side.
I kind of see that too.
He's like a Sith Lord who's struggling with the pull from the light side, when usually it's a Jedi struggling with the pull to the dark side. And in the same way that Anakin gave into his pull and became Darth Vader, Kylo gave into his pull but became a Jedi in the end, and
I see that. I can see
and
that.
fell in, but it was a good thing that he did.
Yeah, that's what kind of closed out everything in the storyline.
Yeah, and I really just think he has a lot of personality to a character that could have been really, really dull and like stupid.
Yeah. But the storyline, like, I don't know, at the end when he was with Rey, and it was just,
I hate the kiss. I don't like the kiss.
It's like, what? I don't know. I was not thrilled about it.
I liked it, except for the kiss.
I mean, do you think that they were supposed to, like, would they have been a couple if she hadn't died? I mean, what? I don't know what I think about it. Or he hadn't died. Which one died? He died.
He died.
So would they have been a couple? I don't know.
I guess so, because they kissed.
No, that's what I'm saying, but would you have thought that if they hadn't?
No.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I see there are a lot of people who shipped them a lot. Like, really, like, pushed them being together. So, apparently, I could see why people would be like, oh, yeah, they're in love. But, like, I don't think that was...
I didn't really think they were in love at all. I just didn't see that in the storyline. Did you see it in the storyline?
No, I don't. Okay. No, I'm just saying that.
Yeah, other people.
I see that. I see their connection. They have a strong connection with each other. So I almost interpret the kiss as not a romantic kiss, but just a really strong connection that they felt with each other through the pull of the Force.
Yeah, I guess so. I can understand that.
Because Kylo's grandfather Anakin was pulled to the dark side by Rey's grandfather Palpatine, and in the end, Rey pulls him to the light side. So it's a perfect mirror of Palpatine and Anakin's struggle, where Palpatine is a Sith Lord, Anakin's a Jedi, pulls Anakin to the dark side. And now you have Rey, the granddaughter, who is a Jedi, and you have Kylo, the grandson of Anakin, who's a Sith, and she pulls him to the light side, and they have this strong connection to the Force that I really enjoyed, and I think the relationship, I liked it. I don't like the kiss. The kiss just seems dumb, but if I choose to interpret it in my head as not a romantic kiss, just a
let me show you how close I feel to you at this moment.
Sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. A connection more than a romantic.
Just a connection.
Yeah.
Especially because she became so close to Ben Solo's mother and father, Han and Leia, and she got so close to Luke, and she was able to see what Kylo was going through when maybe Luke wasn't. She could understand him a lot better. Struggling with his past and his heritage because she didn't know anything about her heritage. But he knew it, that his grandfather was Darth Vader, and how he struggles with that. I just picked up on all these details that I don't think would have, that I think just the way that Adam Driver portrayed the character really brought to the table. Okay. Just and also just entertaining to watch him. He was the most entertaining part. Like, whenever he wasn't on screen, I was like, I wonder what Kylo's up to right now.
All right, I can go there with you.
Like, I just want a whole thing just about Kylo Ren or Ben Solo. I wish he hadn't died.
Yeah.
So that way we could have a whole freaking thing all about Ben Solo. That would have been cool.
Well, what about movies that are made that were before his death? Is that a possibility, you think? Would there be a storyline somewhere?
I guess, of him just being a jerk Sith running around.
So there wouldn't be too much.
I mean, I saw a pitch for like an animated series of like Luke and Kylo's adventures before he turned to the dark side, but I don't want to see that. I want to see a live action Adam Driver running around as Ben Solo. He was awesome in that final moments of Rise of Skywalker. That was the best part to me, was him wearing normal clothes and using a blue lightsaber, and oh, that's a Jedi. That is a freaking Jedi. Look at him go. Man, I really love Adam Driver. The more I talk about it, I'm like, my God, what a man. My man.
Yeah. Well, very cool.
Did you look up what the two popes was?
Yeah, it's about the time in 2005 when a pope was supposed to step down but hadn't quite resigned, and so another pope was in power too. And it was a really awkward time. I remember it, and I think that the two people had great respect for each other, and it was just one of the people who played one of the two popes. And then the other name, Antonio Banderas. I've already forgotten what he was in, but it was a movie about a filmmaker looking back at something. There's nothing that stands out to me at all.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting indeed.
All right.
So, this creative conversation has been all over the place, and we have about 15 minutes left, so we can pick up on any of the strings.
Yes, we can.
That we were messing with there. Does one come to mind of what it is you would like to pick up on and continue?
I was just thinking that, for once in our podcast, we're having a, wow, what can we talk about moment?
Well, it's just because there's so many little strings we can go down, I think.
There definitely are. So I feel like we've said enough about Marriage Story.
Yeah.
It was really a good movie, for sure. I don't know if I have anything new about that. I mean, I can always talk about what I'm doing for school, but I don't really know if that's as creative as I want to talk about.
The variety show. By the time this podcast is up, the variety show would have already happened.
Yeah, it'll be over. So right. I guess I could talk about it a bit. It's been interesting for me because the variety show is like doing 40 different plays in a mini version. because every single act has to have the sets and the props and the costumes and the track if they're going to sing or dance or whatever. So I've learned to just make the big chart and, you know, put the names of the kids and what they need. And I've worked way ahead, and I've tried to keep everything very, very, very simple. So one thing that we're doing, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, is a reading of Cinderella that's rewritten where all the words are switched. So Rendersella, and there's the handsome prince who's the Pransome Hints. And so I have a really large boy, because we're having boys playing the girls and girls playing the boys since everything is switched. And he's Rendersella. So I had found sort of kind of a way to have him have the dress on and then the rags that you have to take off to show the dress. And I wasn't happy with how it looked. So at school Friday, one of my girls that I work with works with another club who does a big show, and they have a lot of dresses. So it's like, well, let's go look through those because I know we have some big ones. So we found a purple dress. And yes, Cinderella doesn't wear a purple dress, but when you're working with a big dude, you use whatever dress fits, and it fits. Uh-huh. So then I had to go shopping at, I went to Salvation Army and Purple Cow, which is a thrift store in our area, and found something that can work for me to make rags out of. So one of the things I'll be doing this weekend is sewing a bunch of rags together to make it something that can go over the dress and be taken off easily. So fun. So that's I do like being creative that way. It definitely pulls on all my different talents. I mean, I don't sew for myself. I have in the past, but I can sew enough to get costumes together and make things that work and pull stuff together. And I enjoyed going shopping yesterday because, you know, you're looking at everything in the store like, could I use it? And since we're doing a play about hippies coming up, I just happened to be walking through a section where they have just the miscellaneous, basically like what you'd see at a garage sale. This was at the Salvation Army store. And there was this big bag, like the kind of bag that you buy a comforter in, you know, that you keep because you think you're going to use it and then you end up throwing it away after about 3 years. I've done that many times. Anyway, and it was full of these artificial sunflowers. And when I think of hippies, I mean sunflowers, bam, you know, I have already bought a bunch of daisies and stuff because we're going to use flowers for many different things. But I got like, they're right here in this bag, David, like 15, like really nice, I mean good quality artificial sunflowers. And the whole bag was less than $3. I was like, yes!
Oh, man.
Yes! So I was really very pleased with my find. Mm-hmm. It's you know, if you went to the store looking for something specific, and I kind of did, I was looking for huge shoes for my Cinderella boy too, which I did find. But you just don't always find what you need, but if you just kind of keep your eyes open and look around and really think about what could I use this for, you know, what do I need? And so shopping for the play I'm doing after the variety show is also heavy in my head because it's our 60s one. And we found a few things there that look kind of 60s, so picked up a few more things. Mm-hmm. It's really exciting to have the creative outlet of the writing of the play and everything that goes into the directing, you know, all the different aspects of getting it on stage.
Yeah, all of it's coming, it's all coming, there's a meme, it's like, oh yeah, it's all coming together. Mm-hmm. And then it does. That's really cool and satisfying.
Well, you know,
it's a satisfying feeling.
You can say it always does, but you do have to work pretty hard.
I know you have to work pretty hard. I know.
There are definitely times when you...
Well, it wouldn't be nearly as satisfying if you didn't work hard at it, huh?
But still, what I mean is you can work hard and get it up on stage, and there are things that haven't been finished or that people just aren't prepared for. You know what I mean?
I know.
I like when it all comes together, and I work hard to try to ensure that all the plays I have on stage do have all the pieces come together, but definitely have been times when some things have been a little bit lacking.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you get it up there anyway, and people do enjoy it. The experience is worth it. The kids get so much out of it, and the audience loves it, and it's just a huge pride moment for me, you know. Mm-hmm. So, well, are you coming to the variety show? I didn't ask you that.
I'm coming to both shows.
Yes, you are. You normally do, so I have to make sure I save you a seat.
Awesome. Thank you.
And,
I love the variety shows.
March 13th and 14th. You got to put that in your calendar.
I will do that. I'll go ahead and take off work for it.
River and Juliana. So David was in my first two plays, but still sat next to me every other version of those because we had double cast. And from that time on, I think you've sat next to me for...
every single thing. Yeah. I don't think there's been one where I didn't. There was one
play of something that you didn't watch both nights is what I'm trying to get out, I think. Oh. Isn't that right? Wasn't there?
Yeah. I didn't watch both nights of Patriotic. No, I did watch both nights of Patriotic. I didn't watch both nights of...
something. Was it Vlad and Alex? Did you see both of them?
I saw both of Vlad and Alex. What is the other
Dinky
one?
Springs.
I saw.
Well, yeah, because you wrote that one with me.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there was one I remember that you weren't sitting next to me. It felt very strange. It really did.
Maybe it was Patriotic Pelican.
Maybe it was.
I think it might have been Patriotic Pelican. Yeah, it was. So I've been working on my own project.
Oh, let's hear about
creative
that.
project.
Yes.
So a lot of times I go to the coffee shop I actually work at. I'll go there and I'll sit down and I do a lot of work for us, get all the videos edited and up and way ahead of time, ready to go. And we've been writing. We found a new platform to do some writing on. I'll leave that in the description, called Vocal. And we're both have some stuff that's going to be going up there. I did Tales from the Yogurt Store, writing a few of those. I work on the book that I want to write, Summer Born. I do a lot of work, but also a lot of what my time has been spent this past week or so doing was getting together a new D&D campaign that I'm writing. It's a full homebrew because tomorrow night I'm meeting with a new group of players. I'm meeting my girlfriend, who has played twice, and her two friends who have who have never played. And recently my stepdad has become obsessed with D&D, and he's played a couple times, so he's going to play in this one too. Kind of a weird combo, my girlfriend, her friends, and my stepdad, but that's the beauty of D&D. Excuse me, that's the beauty of D&D, is it all comes together.
Yeah.
All these different people that can be connected by it. My stepdad is 52 years old, and he's about to play with us 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds playing D&D, because he's just fell in love with it, and he's become obsessed with it and wants to play all the time, and he's good at it too. I'm very happy for him to be there, because I want everybody I know to play D&D. So, and I'm going to DM this game, and these four have very, very little experience. So that's exciting for me. To bring in two new people who have never played at all, that's very exciting for me, and I want to give them a great game. So I've been writing, and there's a lot of work that I've put into this, because the thing about D&D when they're playing is they could do anything. You have your story, right? But they could say, I'm going to go over to is there an alchemy shop in town? I'm going to go to the alchemy shop. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, what's your name? And I'm like, Franklin. Like, you have to come up. So, like, I want to be prepared for that, like, fully. So I bought a notebook, and I bought folders, and I've typed up entire histories of Menorah, the continent that I'm in. I've typed up, like, a notice board where, like, so it's like, there's a notice board in town. I'm like, what if they have to see the notice board? Okay, let's get a notice board. So I made a whole freaking notice board where I'm like, here you go, and got newspapers going of Eleanor Weekly, and like, and I made a map. I made a full map of the country, and then smaller maps of closer points in the country, and I planned out encounters, and I made an encounter table, and I've written my own homebrew rules, and like, I have this notebook that is just like a subject notebook that is just straight, like, following, like it's a module with maps in it and the different character names, and I have all these NPCs that I've invented, and I have to come up with voices for all of them, because you never know what they're going to do. I'll probably use 25% of what I've written, but you need to be prepared for whatever it is they're going to do. So it's a lot of work, but it's really, really fun, because I'm fully coming up with all of it.
And it sounds to me like it could just be a novel by the time you play through it a few times. I mean,
yeah, maybe practically. It practically could be where I'm just writing the story about... okay, so by the time that they would be able to listen to this, they would already play the first session, so I was like, oh, so what should I say? But basically, they're a party who they're at a tavern, they're drinking, and they all kind of black out and wake up in a prison cell. And they're like, they don't, what happened? Oh, wait, I can't. They might listen to this part. But they wake up in a prison cell, and they are confronted and they're in an elven city, and the elven guard is like, so you guys are sentenced to execution for all the atrocious crimes you committed last night. And they're like, what? We didn't commit crimes. And he's like, yep, you commit all these crimes and you're going to be executed unless you do a job for us. So then they get sent on this job where they're going after this high target bounty that they have to go after in this goblin camp that's way down south. And it's going to expand and go crazy from there. That's the story that's in plan, is they're going to go to the goblin camp. But along the way, they need to encounter certain things that are fun, where it's like, oh, we're going, but oh, look, there's a trap in the road, and you go investigate it, and orcs come out and they attack you, and then so they can learn fighting and stuff like that. And then I have to plan out all the encounters. So I have to like have a sheet of paper. It's like, okay, there's 3 orcs and they each have this amount of health. This is their AC. This is the weapons they had that they attack with. So let's get those rolls already out the way. And then, like I said, building the town's the hard part, because what if before they leave town, they say, well, I'm going to go over to the blacksmith. I want to buy a nicer sword. So I'm going to go over to the blacksmith. So I'm like, okay, I guess the blacksmith's name is,
Smithy.
Smithy. No, Smith is the guy who owns the bar. Oh, and then there's a bard there named Gareth. And then also I had to set up things for later. So in the bar, there is a scoundrel-looking man and a giant. It's Han Solo and Chewbacca, basically, like a giant bugbear thing, and it's they can set up missions for them. And then there's Gareth the Bard, who just wants to make a name for himself in this hard world, and you have to come up with like the halflings, like are there halflings in the city? How many elves are here? Like they come up with all the details, and then I'm like, crap, they're going to ask like about borders. So they go on the map and like draw the borders of where the countries are and who owned what and so much stuff prepared, but it's a lot of fun and it's really rewarding. And I actually realized, crap, I'm playing tomorrow. I still need to finish some stuff. So tonight when I'm at work, I'm going to be like typing up on my computer, getting everything even closer to being ready to go. So it's going to be so much fun. It's so rewarding. And you say novel, but actually you can publish your D&D modules. You can make a module and publish it. That's another thought that I had. And that also reminds me that on our Fiverr, where we have our accounts up, one of the things that I offer is I will write you a game. I will write you a brand new homebrew, completely full with encounters D&D game for like $10 every 1,000 words or something like that. I forget exactly. That link is in the description. And that's where both me and Donna will write anything that you need. Any creative words. You need a story written, you need a script written for something you're doing. Maybe maybe you own a business and you want to do a commercial and you need somebody just to write a script for a funny commercial or rework some things, edit some things that you might have written. That's the place to go. That's where we're going to help you stay creative is over on our Fiverr. So I love D&D and I'm excited about D&D.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Since you mentioned Fiverr, and David and I have been very busy and haven't seen each other much, so we're going to talk business on the podcast. So you said that we had someone interested in like rewriting. Right. Was it like 80 different skits?
It was like 80 different skits. Now he never got back to me after, because he sent a message and was like, "Hey, so I have 80 romance skits that I need reworked. How much would you charge?" And I'm like, "Well, how many words are in the scripts?" Mm-hmm. And I was all diplomatic. I'm like, "Hi, thank you so much for reaching out. We charge based on like how many words in the scripts, and I'm sure we can come to a deal that's fair for both of us." And he never got back to us, so too bad. But you know what? Someone saw our ad. Someone messaged us, and I was thinking about this. We've opened up, like, we're doing business stuff. Like, we've opened up a lot of avenues for making making revenue. Like, we have a lot of avenues open, especially as we gain more followers and subscribers. Don't forget, we have merchandise, and then we can set up ad deals, and then we can we have our vocal where you guys can check out all of our writing stuff there, and then plus the money from YouTube views. Like, there's like, and I was like doing the math and stuff like this, right? Because I was looking at all these details and stuff like that of like how much would we need, how many subscribers would we need to get blah blah blah. And I'm doing the math and I'm realizing, yes, this seems relatively small, like $500 from this one revenue, but then that's not the only revenue we have. Right. We have this one and this one and this one and this one. It's not to mention, once we get enough people, we can start up a Patreon and have that coming up. And then all the stuff that you've been working so hard on with our affiliate marketing, which that Partners with Anthony view, I mean, it's getting views, and I don't think it's all just from your fellow students. Like, I don't believe that. And there's still so much stuff that we can do with all of that, and there's just so much on our plate. And at first, that's why I think maybe for a long time it's felt like we haven't pushed forward a lot, but I think we have, because what we've done, looking at YouTube through the eyes of a business, which most people don't start YouTube with. They start with just making videos and then it kind of happens for them. But looking through the eyes of the business, the reason things are going the way we've gone is because we've been pushing forward with the idea of these a million different things in order to make the business work. And maybe that's why we haven't focused solely on making YouTube videos. And I think it's something that's going to pay off, because by the time we get up there where we want to be with our YouTube, well, we already have all these other revenues established. We have all these alleys established, and then just having the views from YouTube will feed all the other ones, when mostly what happens is all of a sudden you have YouTube subscribers and you're like, and that's all you got. And you have to get many, many subscribers in order for that to be the only revenue that would allow you to sustain yourself.
Well,
I think it's going to pay off.
I agree. And I think that whether I like it or not, some of the hesitation is because of my brain. I so completely believe in the whole art of manifestation, and you kind of speak your world into existence. So I have said from the beginning of this business, when I retire, I need this to be in place. And so if I had said, wow, I need this to, take off in 6 months, I think possibly it would have taken off more in 6 months. But the more I look at kind of where we're going and the growth rate and the ideas, it's kind of like this slow build, so that when I get to the end of my career as a teacher, everything will have had the time to grow. And I'm not sure that maybe 6 months would have been enough, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's part of me saying, I'm doing this now so that when I retire, I will have something else to do. And I feel like we have plenty to do now. I have plenty to do that I have not even touched, as I've mentioned many times. But I kind of see this slow build and the slow growth and the creating of all of this backlog of content that's going to serve us as we move forward, as kind of the world going, oh, okay, you said you wanted to have this exploding when you retire. Well, we're going to slow build for 4 years. And you know
that's
what I mean?
I think too. I think it's work that's going to pay off. I mean, and also, we're not starving to death.
Well, right, like I said.
And so we haven't had to be like, we need it now. But and I think it's all this work that is slowly going to pay off. I've just been trying to think about it a lot, and especially the more I do things and I'm thinking in a more of a business way, I'm realizing that we're opening up all these avenues that eventually, it's only statistically speaking that these things are gonna eventually make money for us, and it's not just about making money, but I want to be able to, and I've been thinking too, what can I do? And it's because I'm oh man, I'm not in college anymore. It wasn't for me. So I have to get a job, and what am I going to do? And realistically, I could get a job freaking selling insurance or some crap, That's what a friend of mine just got. So it's I could do these things, but at the same time, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to be doing this also until that takes off, until this does. And I'm always saying and the way I've always talked about it is, well, I'm going to work at blah, 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 but when this takes off, then I can quit. This is just so... And, people might think you're stupid, but that's...
Well, this is the thing about that, David. So many people don't view creative jobs as actual ways to make money. And that has finally started to change. Because what we want to do is not historically something that makes a lot of money.
Right.
But now that we have this whole internet venue, and people one of our mentors that we've worked with telling us, hey, I'm a creative guy, and this is what I've done, and this is how I made my money, and then working with Partners with Anthony, and just learning more about how to market on the internet, even though that's the thing I really need to find time to go back to. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to beat myself up, but when I have time to go back to that after I get through some of this major stuff I'm doing with my school, with my theater department, that's taught me a lot, just learning how to use the system that's in front of me, even if it's just using it for us and not the stuff it still has taught me a lot. We will absolutely be able to make our living doing something creative, even though that used to just be you'll never make money as an artist. You need to get in the real world, in business. Well, now it is business, and you just have to find your niche and ride the wave of this, even though it's not brand new, this new way of doing business on the internet. It allows anybody with any interest to have success. You just have to put in the work. Right,
and we're slowly just grinding out these different things to a point where there's just going to be so much that it's going to pay off.
It is.
And we'll get to do whatever we want, because what we want to do, and I think this is the reason maybe we've struggled a bit, because we want to do so much.
Yeah, we do.
There's so many things we want to do. Just before we were talking about narrating books, and that reminds me we could do that. We could volunteer. I was thinking how I was Googling ways to write online, and it's just there's a million different things you can do that we can be doing at the same time of doing all this stuff. And it's a lot of different things. And maybe these things don't all pay a super large amount, but when you're doing so many of them, it's going to build up and add up. And there's so many different things we can do to a point where we just build up our name to where you can be speaking at events like you've always talked about doing, and or narrating books on Audible and things like that we can do whatever we want. And all of it, and what Stay Creative is, and what we've always had it in mind is Stay Creative is a platform to do these things. It is a jumping point, a big springboard that we're building to where, hi, I'm David Peoples of Stay Creative. So hire me so I can do this fun thing that I think is super cool. I'll write a comic book. And it's like, because Marvel does that. Like, anybody who's famous, if they want to write a comic book, they can write a comic book. But Marvel, like CM Punk, a wrestler, did. Because he's like, I'm CM Punk of WWE. And they're like, frick, write a comic book. What if one day I'm like, I'm David Peoples of Stay Creative. Oh man, write our Spider-Man book. Or write a special one. That's what this is. It's just a big platform to do it.
It is, and we found our hour. It took
and
us a little.
Creative.
We kind of struggled. We kind of struggled and had a little bit of a pause, which is not normal for us. But we always find something to talk about. We always do.
That's right.
Exciting. So I guess we need to wrap it up. I'll let you wrap up today.
Right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description. To send us a like. Just a like means so much. It messes with the algorithm to get us more up there. Just don't forget to like that video. Please hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment telling us what you thought about the show. Check out all the links. Go to our vocal that will be in the description and let us know what you think about some of the stories we have written up there. Both me and Donna have one. I'll leave both of those links. Go to our Fiverr, see what we offer, see if there's something we can help you with. Don't forget to check out all of our other podcasts and videos and our inspiration for writing a story. That's up there too. And our Positive Conversations podcast. There really is so much to check out. And our website and our blog. It's so much. So many things you could do.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm David.
And I'm Donna.
Stay creative.